Hello, everyone. Welcome in, welcome in. Happy Sunday, folks. And happy Black History Month. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. Welcome in. We're going to have a great conversation today with director Malcolm D. Lee, who should be joining us any moment. Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today on this Sunday. Hope everyone's having a good Sunday. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. If you're in the chat, feel free to let us know where you're joining from. Malcolm, I see you have joined. Feel free to request to come on. Would love to get started soon. Well, welcome, everyone. Happy Black History Month. We're going to be having an amazing conversation with the legendary and iconic Malcolm D. Lee, who has been an incredible director and writer in the entertainment industry for some years now. So we're going to jump right in a moment. Malcolm will request to join the live, and we're looking forward to having a discussion. If you're in the chat, feel free to let us know where you're watching from. We're happy to know who's interacting with us. Thank you all for joining. We'll get started in just a few moments. Waiting on Mr. Lee to be able to join the live. And we'll get started. Happy Black History Month, everyone. Getting ready to have a fruitful discussion. Wonderful. Again, if you're in the chat, feel free to let us know where you're joining us from. We're going to be having a conversation today with the legendary and iconic Malcolm D. Lee, who has been a director and writer in Hollywood for several years and is going to impart some great wisdom on us today. Malcolm, when you join the live, feel free to request to come on screen and we will go ahead and get started. Okay, we got Detroit in the house. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. So happy to have you. Montgomery, Alabama. Awesome, awesome. Love to see it. Conversation stretching nationwide, worldwide. Okay, we got Prairie View A&M in the house. Good to see you. Here to have a wonderful conversation with our HBCU community and more. Thank you all for joining. Let's just double check with Mr. Lee to see if he is able to join us. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We'll be starting momentarily. Thank you all for joining in. We're going to be having a great conversation on writing and directing in Hollywood. This is part 2 of our series. We recently had a great conversation with actors Laz Alonso and Susan Hayward previously, and they gave us really good insight on building an acting career in the entertainment space and just thriving in the entertainment space. And we're going to be switching perspectives today, talking to a writer and director, an esteemed, iconic writer and director who's done amazing work in this industry. So we'll be able to get him on camera very soon. Thank you all for joining us. Again, if you're in the chat, feel free to let us know where you're joining us from. We got Montgomery in the house. We got Detroit. We got Prairie View A&M University, excuse me. As you know, I'm representing Howard, the one and only. All right. Just giving a few moments, waiting for Mr. Lee to join. Thank you all for joining us today. Oh, it's been a productive day. As you see, we got the Winter Olympics going. The shout out to the U.S. men's hockey team, won gold today. First time since 1980. Made some history today. So it's been a productive day for so many. Ain't sure you know, we got Dwight Franklin, one of our founders, in the house. Wonderful. Really, right? Excellent. Hey, Mr. Lee, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm sorry. I was trying to log on my computer and it wasn't allowing me to do it.
All
So
good. No problem. No problem. Well, thank you for joining, and so appreciative of you taking the time to chat with us today. For those of you who are joining us, as I've been mentioning, we're about to have an incredible conversation with the legendary Malcolm D. Lee. Before I introduce Malcolm, let me just give a little context to this. We've been provided this platform by the Williams Franklin Foundation, which is a foundation that was founded by two Howard University alum who, since 2014, have been deeply committed to providing opportunities to HBCU students across the country through scholarship, mentorship, and professional development and networking. We impart this webinar series with different experts from a variety of different industries who can talk to us about their careers and what they've done and how they've been able to contribute to their prospective industries and then give some guidance to HBCU students and others across the country. So, as I've mentioned, we are very, very lucky to be here with Mr. Malcolm D. Lee. And I'll introduce you, Malcolm, as you're getting settled there. We're about to have a great conversation. Many of you know Malcolm from a variety of different spaces. Again, he's been in the game for quite some time. He has been a filmmaker, writer, producer, director for franchises like the Best Man franchise. He's done Girls Trip, Barbershop, Next Cut, Night School. Has worked with some of the greatest, from Kevin Hart to Terrence Howard to Ice Cube to the Queen Latifah. You name it, such an incredible person, critically acclaimed, a loyal fan base. He's also an NAACP Image Award winner. He's also has been won a Critics Choice Award for Celebration of Black Cinema. In 2025, he's expanded his portfolio and his literary work with the debut novel for The Best Man Unfinished Business, which is the first of a planned trilogy to continue the Best Man franchise, and continue to tell the story of really his iconic characters, which we're happy to talk about today. And then now Lee's next feature film will feature folks from Lynn Whitfield, Chloe Bailey, and Coco Jones, and will premiere in this year in 2026. Malcolm, how you doing, brother? Thank you so much again for joining us.
my pleasure. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. I also my phone's also running low. So I thought I could do this on my computer, but obviously that's not the case.
Nah, it's all good, man. Listen, technology. We were here. Sometimes you got to pivot, but man, brother, again, we were really thankful to have you here. So let's take a step back. First of all, I've been grateful, and this is our second time we've met. You often give mentorship to folks. You've been able to talk to folks like myself and others, and you do an excellent job on imparting wisdom and also just demonstrating who you are as an incredible creator in the entertainment industry. And if I can borrow words from Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club, you are literally like an icon living. But I want to take a step back and understand what got you into Hollywood and what made you want to be a director.
Um, well, I was exposed very early
Hmm.
to filmmaking and video making and animation.
Hmm.
Um, I as a kid, I was already interested in the fine and performing arts.
Hmm.
I used to like to draw. I used to act. Play with my action figures,
Hmm.
creating little scenarios and things like that. And once I saw there was someone in my family and someone black did it
Hmm.
and could do it and helped to demystify the process of filmmaking, I thought, oh, I can see myself doing this.
Absolutely.
And um, so by the age of 19, I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. I knew I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm not the kind of director that's got the the vision, like, oh, the scene's gonna be like this, and we're gonna do a tracking shot here, and we're gonna come down out of the clouds and do blah blah blah. Like my sensibility is one of I have to write it. I have to write it in
Mm-hmm.
order to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that for me, um, that was key, like having to write and direct.
Mm-hmm.
And so and it's always very grounded about people, rather
Absolutely.
than like spaceships and things. I love those movies.
Certainly, certainly. I'm going to ask you about your landmark franchise, incredible franchise, Best Man Holiday, in just a moment. But I want to zoom in on what you were just saying about writing. Not every director writes or knows how
Correct.
to write well, but you use writing and you have to tap into writing as a part of your visualization process. Tell me a little bit more why that was so important to you and how did you become so great at it?
I knew that I like to write,
Mm-hmm.
and so I knew that I had discovered pretty early on, like, there's no way I could direct a movie without writing it.
Yeah.
No one was gonna deliver me or hand me an opportunity to direct. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I was an English major in undergrad, and so I worked on writing and
Mm-hmm.
character, and then as you get more into the practice of writing screenplays, you start to understand that screenplays are about structure. And
Mm-hmm.
I was good at writing dialogue. I was good at writing
Mm-hmm.
character. I wasn't good at structure, and that's what I had to come to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was, and then again, you have to study movies, and when things happen, and what's the drive, and what's the engine, and what's the motor, and what's the end of second act crisis that has to be solved, and all these things.
Yeah.
This is part of the process. And it is a process. You have to practice it. You have to just kind of do it.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you talked about the process because not a lot of people know that your breakout franchise Best Man wasn't your first feature script or your first extensive script. And there is a process when you're getting in the entertainment industry as a director, writer, producer that you try to develop something, try to put something on paper, and you don't always get the green light. Talk to us about that before we talk about Best Man. Talk to us a little bit more about the process of getting into writing and trying to sell a story and get a green light in
Well,
Hollywood. I mean, yeah.
I think everyone feels like they've got a story to tell. They may not know how to tell it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but though, for those who are going to be brave enough to venture out there, yeah, you have to. I think, in order to be successful, is write what you know, right? Right
Absolutely.
from obviously it's great to write from um, your imagination, and you know who comes up with the space Odyssey or Star Wars, or
Mm-hmm.
like, it has to come from somewhere, right? But or Jaws, for that matter, right? Like, but write what you know. So I wrote a screenplay to get into a screenwriting fellowship,
Mm-hmm.
and fortunately was able to do that with my first screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, good characters, good dialogue, no structure. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's some structure, but it was, it's a very flawed screenplay. And
Mm-hmm.
then you just keep, working at it. You work, and so that was um, that was the first. And I wrote another screenplay when I was there. I wrote three more
Mm-hmm.
before I ended up writing The Best Man, and those were just, kind of. One of them was high concept. The other was, I don't even remember what the fourth one was, to be quite honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was the fifth one, was a kind of a romantic comedy,
Sure.
and that was the movie I wanted to make and be my feature debut.
Absolutely. And honestly, it's been such a huge part of the culture. Before I get to the next question, I wanted to say, if you're just joining us here on the listeners, we're having a great conversation here with Malcolm D. Lee, one of the icons, writer directors in the entertainment industry, and just kind of explore more of what he's done in this space and give wisdom to some HBCU students across the country. And want to give a shout out and thank you to the Williams Franklin Foundation for giving us the space. But Malcolm, yeah, let's jump into the best man because that has been a staple in our culture, that whole franchise series. And I mean, again, I mentioned earlier you worked with Terrence Howard, you worked with Tate Diggs. I mean, you had some household names that have come out of that franchise. And it's been over 25 years since your first movie. Did you know it was going to be as big as it was? And what made you want to continue to develop it and just create such an incredible story out of it that's now into a novel?
Well, I can't say that I thought they would have, um, you know, sequels and things like that. But the intention
Hmm.
was to make a classic, was to make
Mm,
a movie that stood the test of time. I felt like we could
and you
do it,
did.
and I think it is regarded um, as that.
Hmm.
Um, and so I wanted to be, to leave it at that, but as you navigate your way through the business and what gets made and what is beloved and what's your brand and all these kinds of things, it came up again. Like, there was talk early on of doing Best Man as a sequel right away
Hmm.
immediately, but I wasn't interested in doing that. Um, and I didn't want to be a one trick pony. I didn't want
Hmm.
to, you know, had this be the only thing I could do, or have people think that. And so I was go I would my thought was that I would, if I wanted to return to these characters, it would be like 10 years later.
Mm,
So when I had a chance to grow and develop, and the characters had the chance to live some life.
yeah.
And so, it was at a time that, I needed a movie to work. I think the actors needed a movie to work. And, all the talk at that time in 2012, around that era, was like, what's the brand? What's your brand? What's your brand? So my brand
Yeah.
was Best Man. And so I was like, okay, let me see. And I'd been toying with the idea of doing a holiday movie with
Hmm.
these characters. And so, then by the end of that movie, we left them on a cliffhanger. We said, okay, let's complete the story, but
Yep.
we could not mount a third movie. But streaming had been, kind of ubiquitous at the time, and it was like, okay, like, maybe we can make this in television.
Absolutely.
So shipped it
Yeah.
over there, and that's what happened.
I was going to actually get into that. Thank you. First of all, let me say two things to you, Malcolm. First, your franchise, you absolutely created a classic. I mean, I know you see the comments, people are saying you certainly did create a classic. I mean, the Best Man franchise means so much to the culture, and it's amazing how it spans generations. I'm Gen Z, right? So I mean, even if over 25-year-old franchise, it's still relevant to people of my age, which is amazing. But to that point, and this goes back to talking to the writers and directors who are listening to us right now. How do you know when a story is finished? Like when a franchise is finished, or should it go to the next level of being built into a TV series and now a novel as you've done? Like how do you know as a creator when it's finished?
You don't always know. We never want to overstay our welcome,
Hmm.
um, and certainly don't want to, have people say, "Well, why did they bother doing that?"
Mm.
Um, you
Hmm.
know, um, so I mean, I thought certainly, I knew that we had to continue the story after we ended Best Man Holiday.
Okay.
We couldn't just leave. We had to finish the story, and I thought that final chapters, achieved that. That
Hmm.
okay, like, we got more than a movie. We got, like, basically I had two movies in my head, and I was like, okay, we can finish off with that. I thought that would be the end,
Mm,
and then I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I always wanted to get into novel writing, so that's what I did. I went ahead and took these characters that everyone really is engaged with and is interested in, and had backstory, and
yeah,
put it in that medium.
amazing. That is amazing. You notice, kind of transitioning a little bit, you notice that folks, directors like yourself, very successful directors, kind of work sometimes with recurring folks. I mean, you see examples. Will Packer would do different projects with Kevin Hart. Ryan Coogler would do different projects with Michael B. Jordan. You obviously with your ensemble, for the folks you work with, Best Man Holiday. Talk to us a bit more why it's important, especially with relationships in the entertainment space, that you have a reliable network of folks that you can kind of build projects. Because a lot of people don't, for those who don't know, you have other blockbusters, but even with Girls Trip, and you're doing a Girls Trip too with Jada Pinkett and Queen Latifah and folks. So tell us why it's important to create a creative ensemble and have a network of folks that you continue to build
Well, I
projects with.
mean, I think first of all, your responsibility as a director is to cast the right people,
Sure.
and we certainly did that with Best Man, and we want to continue working with those characters and those actors. So we did that. I've worked multiple times with Regina Hall. I've worked multiple times with Mike Epps.
Yep. Yep.
Um, the most important thing is casting it right. And then there's something as a nice extra bonus when you have a shorthand with somebody and you
Hmm.
can know what to expect when you cast them, and know what they can know what you expect as well. So that's always nice to like have a shorthand. So I've worked multiple times, but also the same director of photography, the same editor, the same production designer.
Hmm.
I find that they can really help to the same costume designer.
Hmm.
They can know what the expectation is. So there's not a. I mean, even though we're going to meet and we're going to talk about the
Hmm.
specific script,
Hmm.
there's an expectation that they already know from me, and sometimes I'll surprise them with
Hmm.
with more, and that's always a great continuity. So, like when we're planning things or scouting, or I'm in
Yeah.
this meeting, they understand. They don't have to just wonder, oh, what is Malcolm going to want? They already know, like what the baseline is, and
Yeah.
then it's easier to communicate when you're trying to work with people. But even when you're working with new people,
Hmm.
if they're professional and and have an understanding of how the business works, then it can be great.
Yeah.
Also like the new people, and you can kind of right the ship that way too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before I get to the next question, just wanted to say thank you, folks, for joining in. And if you're just tuning in, we're having a great conversation with one of the legends in Hollywood, Malcolm D. Lee, just talking about his story and his journey, and having him impart wisdom to HBCU students and others across the country. Malcolm, you have successfully become what people, and for those who don't know the term, multi-hyphenate. You write, direct, produce with projects and films. You've been in television, you've been in movies, and obviously now you're in the novelty space. Talk to us about why it's also important to have multiple skill sets in Hollywood, be a producer, be a writer, director, and how that helps you just navigate and
I,
what,
I, I
yeah.
a couple of things. I think it's. I mean, one, don't try to do everything, right? Because like it's not always possible.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that it's important to know multiple aspects of the business,
Okay.
and what your duties are, and what your responsibilities are. Um, I feel a great responsibility to something that I've written,
Mhm.
and getting it across the finish line. So I want to be able to, protect that vision.
Sure.
And if that means I'm producing it, or if that means I'm directing it, or a combination thereof, then that's what I'm going to do. Um, so you also have to diversify your skill set.
Yeah.
This there's a lot of talk of being replaced by the robots and AI and all this kind of stuff. And I think you just have
Yeah,
to, you know, um, prepare yourself as much as possible. A, to
yeah,
be very good at your craft, and
yeah,
then learn other things.
absolutely. Absolutely. And kind of building on that, I want to talk a bit more also about creative control. You know, while you're building a project, you're writing a project, you have the long term vision in mind. When you approach a studio and say, hey, this is the vision I have, and you want to maintain creative control, talk to us about how would you recommend, aspiring directors or writers to help negotiate and maintain creative control over their work so they can make sure they can maintain their stories. Like
Well, first
what
of
is that like for
all,
you? Yeah, yeah.
they, you you are the purveyor of the vision, right?
Yes, sir.
As a writer director, that's your job, right? But and you have to show them the way.
Yes, sir.
You have to show them the vision. You have to show them the exactly what you intend and what you want. And you have to be, strong about that. But I think you also have to be flexible where necessary. You're not gonna be able to get everything you want. You have to be able to compromise, but you also have
Hmm.
to be very strong in your vision and
Hmm.
about what you want and what you expect. Now, I was gonna. You may disagree with your producer and your studio and your financier.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
okay. But you have to, articulate why um, why you want something, or if they have a note, what is this note, and why, or what's the note behind the note?
Mm.
Because it's some, and if multiple people have the same note, then you have to address it because it's a point of confusion or something, or there's if they say, oh, it's too long, or you have to address these things just
Yeah,
because, or you have to tell them why something works,
yeah.
or why, and then what I like to do is always say, okay, like, see what the audience has to say about it,
Hmm.
and if they understand or if they want it, then it's like, okay, like, then I was correct. And
Yeah,
not that I'm trying to be right, but you want to protect the vision, and it's not everybody has the same vision as you do, and that's why they hire you, for
yeah,
your vision, for your ability to tell the story.
yeah. And today, when you see a black writer director like, let's say, a Ryan Coogler, right, who's making waves in the industry, with Sinners, he just broke the Oscar nomination record, and then obviously before the movie came out, he had a pretty interesting negotiation plan arrangement with the studio. When you see something like that, how does that make you feel as a creator in the industry, and for opportunities to come for other creators of color even afterwards? So what do you
Listen,
think? Yeah, yeah.
Ryan has earned that, in his career, he hasn't missed, right? He has had no, like, not only like critical success, but he's had box office success.
Hmm.
And if you do that, you can kind of call the shots,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
because there are multiple people that want to work with you. And you can say, and like, he's a humble enough guy to say, like, look, this is important to me, and I want to do this, and that's what I want to have. I want this to. I know you have your models that you have to adhere to, but this is what I want. And he's probably, and again, he did his research
Hmm.
about how
Hmm.
other people have gotten similar kind of deals.
Hmm.
So it's very encouraging. But you can't do that just coming into the studio. I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't be like, I want creative control, I want Final Cut, and I want you ain't done nothing.
yeah, yeah.
And so nobody's gonna listen to you. They like what you're this movie that you might be directing. They like your talent, but it's a prove it to me industry. What have you done for me lately, industry? Ryan has not missed.
Hmm.
And so, he's a visionary, and he's very successful.
Yes, sir.
And so, for him to ask for what he asked for was not unreasonable.
Yeah, yeah.
And that he got it, fantastic.
Yes, sir. And I mean, let's be clear, Malcolm. You have not missed either. I mean,
Oh,
and
I've missed. I've
I
missed.
mean, but
But it's but but
yeah.
but 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 see, just to be clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Like, just because a movie, is critically acclaimed, or I'm sorry, just because a movie makes a lot of money doesn't mean it's good.
Yes,
Just
sir.
because a movie doesn't make a lot of money doesn't mean it's bad,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
And sometimes, like, the movies aren't marketed, in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of pretty much every movie I've done, but whether it gets financial success,
Mm-hmm.
is not always up to me. And like, there's a number of factors that have to play and go right in order for something to be successful.
Yes, sir.
Meaning financially. Now, it also could be a critical success, right? They were definitely critics who were like didn't like Best Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't familiar with these kind of stories. Now, it doesn't mean that the movie's perfect.
Yes, sir.
But it's not. I can look back and I'm like, oh God, this is not. This is. I should have used some more wider shots, right? I look at that and I'm kind
Yeah.
of like, there's problems with it.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, when I talk about, like, like batting 1,000, like
Yeah.
Ryan's pretty much bat 1,000, right? Like, I'm probably like a solid like 600 or something, or 550, and it's cool,
Don't sell
right?
yourself short, Malcolm. I'm serious, brother. I mean, again, the blockbusters, Girl Trip, Space Jam, but Best Man. I mean, you name it. You've done it. Night School. I mean, to that point. First of all, I wanted to say thanks for those for joining us, and thank you to the Williams Franklin Foundation for giving this platform. We're having a great conversation with the legendary Malcolm D. Lee on his experience in Hollywood, as he impart wisdoms. But to build on what you were saying, Malcolm, not everything is a blockbuster success. So if you've gotten to the point, you've greenlight the script, you've done a good shoot, you put it out there, but it doesn't do well in the box office, what is your advice you give to upcoming creators and writers, directors on bouncing back? What is the bounce back process like
Pick
in
yourself,
rebuilding? Yes, sir.
pick yourself up off the floor, lick your wounds, go back at it another day.
Okay.
What can you learn from that experience? Was it all them? Was it all me? Was it a combination? Did I, did I stick to my guns? Did I compromise too much? Did I compromise a little? And then, did I not compromise enough?
Yes, sir.
There's every opportunity you can to learn and grow. I think is valuable as long as you're able to do it. People
Hmm.
people get in director jail though. And it happens, and you got to find a
What's
way to
that?
re.
Yeah.
Well, that's when studios are like, oh, he or
Mm-hmm.
she, we can't trust them to make a movie. They lose money all the time.
Mm.
So they're like, oh, we're not hiring him or her.
Yeah.
So that happens. And it's a business. It's
Yeah.
not all like, oh, like look at my art. It's like this cost millions of dollars, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and it's a big investment. And
Yes, sir.
so and the industry is shrinking all the time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's so you when you get a failure, and look, you're upset, you wallow in it. I put so much time. I put over a year of my life into this. This was like
Hmm.
my debut, my third movie, my whatever it is, and you're like, and people didn't care, or they didn't show up, or they didn't market it correctly. Whatever. It's just like,
Hmm.
okay, you're allowed to feel bad about it, but you can't stay in there. You can't
Yeah.
stay. You have to say, okay, like, how do I make what's next? How do I
Absolutely.
do something that's going to resonate? You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know we've been talking a lot about relationships with studios and directors approaching and negotiating with studios, but can you give a little insight, if you can, on the indie film track? I mean, how do you feel about the indie filmmakers and what they bring to the table and in that
it's
experience?
fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
look, I tried to go indie.
Okay.
I tried to raise money on it. It's very difficult. It's
Yeah.
just like it's just as difficult to get independent money as it is to get a studio to pay attention.
Yeah.
So however you can get it done, get it done. As long as it's legal, I'll say.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
even
Yes,
if
sir.
it's not legal, get it done. You know what I
Yes, sir.
mean? It's if you're passionate about making movies, and you have something to say and you have a voice and whatnot, so then go out there and make it.
Yes, sir. You and Malcolm, you're the kind of person who you've been able to build off of your brand and your success in Hollywood, and you've ventured into other spaces. I know you own the spirits, you've done in the spirits industry, own the spirits brand and things of that nature. Talk to us about what it's like building different opportunities and ventures through your brand and your success. I mean, what do you recommend people to kind of have that versatility in Hollywood and venture?
Well, I mean,
I know it's
probably
tough. It's tough.
it's a good idea
Yes, sir.
to not throw all your eggs in one basket. Um, it's a tough industry,
Yes, sir.
and I think that it's important to see, how else you can, diversify, how you can. I think it goes across every industry, like find a way to like keep hustling.
Hmm.
We're fortunate, it wasn't anything that we've done or that I've done. Like you talk about the spirits thing for a second. I mean, that was just out of an idea that was, that came up. That was like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do it. And
Hmm.
it wasn't like, oh, we can make money doing it. It's like, yeah, of course we want to make money, but it wasn't about like, hey, let's find a way to make money and do this. It's like, here's this idea. Like that might be kind of cool. Might be kind of fun. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Same with the book. Like, I wanted to, try my hand at it, and
Yes,
say,
sir.
okay, like let me see if I can, be successful doing this. And, given that aspect a try. I think yes, I think it's important to first of all try to be good at one thing,
Yeah.
right? Be good at directing, be good at editing, be good at being a DP, be good at being a filmmaker, right? Whatever aspect that you're going to do,
Yes, sir.
and then get a couple of those under your belt, and then see what else you can do.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to really quickly, for those of you who are just joining us, we have a couple minutes left, but we've just been having a great conversation with Malcolm D. Lee, legendary writer, director, producer, filmmaker in Hollywood, really giving some incredible wisdom to students on how to kind of navigate and build and to grow in this industry. Last couple of questions to you, Malcolm. One, if I remember correctly, I've heard you say in the past interview that you challenged this generation of creators to create this generation's super bad, kind of like a breakout opportunity for people to kind of grow and explore. Why is that so important for this generation to have a kind of super bad breakout opportunity, and what does that really mean in
I,
your
I,
opinion?
my opinion on that is like, I mean, the theatrical business is very, very tough
Yes,
right
sir.
now. And I love movies. I don't know that this generation loves movies by and large, like, um, like because the access is different. There's been like we've had phones, we've had DVRs. It's all been very much on demand. Bigger televisions at home, better surround sounds, what have you, right? The communal experience of going to the movies has very much lessened. But I think that I'm but I'm still hopeful that people still want to go to the movies. And I feel
Hmm.
like movies, unlike to me, movies that are theatrical, unlike movies that are on streaming, affect culture.
Mm.
And I think television shows can do that as well.
Hmm.
But I think one-off movies on streaming don't really have that impact. I don't think television movies have never really had that impact.
Mm. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I think but that's like it's more heavily weighted to doing movies on streaming than there is to do theatrical. And like, what is
Mm.
theatrical? And then so I say Super Bad or Breakfast Club or Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, what is this generation's version of that? You
Mm.
know, is what I'm looking for. Is what I think, and I think it's an opportunity for indie filmmakers to make an impact on
Yes,
this
sir.
industry in a way that they did with the indie filmmakers like Scorsese and Coppola and Spielberg did in the '70s, and the
Yes, sir.
blaxploitation directors did as well. There's and same thing with the '90s. There was this infusion of creativity and talent and maverick mentality of like, oh, I'm gonna go after it like this. And I think there's an opportunity there because the studios, they go through their place where they're kind of fledgling a little bit. Like, okay, like we don't know what's going
Hmm.
to. So everybody's going back to what they think is going to work. That's
Yeah.
why there's 20,000 Batmans and Spider-Mans and Jurassic Parks and Fast and Furious and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like, they're going back to what they think is going to get people to go come back to the theater. And I think
Yeah.
it's an opportunity for a younger audience, a younger generation of filmmakers who are tapped into what their generation likes and wants, and presents that to them and say, "Go check that out."
Certainly. Certainly. Two more questions. One, do you think that the movie theater family experience is fading, and do you think it needs a jump start? I mean, going to
It
movies, getting
absolutely
popcorn.
needs.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
absolutely needs it. It's like like when I remember about a decade or so ago, Scorsese and Spielberg sounded the alarm. They're like, "Hey,
Mm,
theatrical business is dead." And
mm,
I'm just like, oh, come on. And I'm right now, I'm like, it's dying for sure. And I think it was headed in a certain direction, and the pandemic happened and accelerated it,
mm-hmm,
very much. I think that people, and they've done it to themselves. I mean, like they'll make a movie available within like a month
mm,
on pay-per-view.
mm-hmm,
You can watch it
mm-hmm,
like, oh, people say, oh, if they don't feel like, oh, I got to go see that.
mm-hmm,
Oh, I have to like I'm gonna miss out. I'm gonna have FOMO if I don't
mm-hmm,
go see that.
mm-hmm.
Then I mean that's why you can still get like little kids to go see was it Hoppers that's coming out. Like they want
Mm-hmm,
to see animated
mm-hmm,
Pixar movies. They're gonna go,
mm-hmm.
oh, mommy, daddy, I want to see that.
And Toy
You
Story,
know,
Toy Story is still out there. Yeah.
yeah. So like like that people are going to go see because kids they drive it.
Yeah.
Young people drive the industry. If young people from the ages of 10 to or even 11 to like 17, 25 or whatever are not interested in the movies, going to the movies, and they'll just wait. They'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. I don't need to see that.
Yeah. I mean, and you mentioned you spoke about just briefly earlier, just really quickly. Do you think AI is really going to be a challenge? I mean, do you feel like
It's already a
people?
challenge.
Okay. Can creators leverage it, or do you feel like it's something that's really going to harm the?
Listen, it ain't going nowhere. And it ain't going nowhere. So you can't fight it. You have to try to embrace it in ways that make it work for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, this last question I asked you, just want to give a little preface to it. Is first of all, just transition real quick to HBCUs. And real quickly, for those of you who may just be tuning in or have been listening, thank you for joining us. We're about to end a conversation with Malcolm D. Lee, who's been given a great, great conversation about the Hollywood entertainment space, icon, living legend right here. And just so you know, this interview will be available afterwards. Our last question, I want to focus primarily on the HBCU community. So giving a thank you, a generous thank you to the Williams Franklin Foundation, who's given us this space. Again, this foundation has since 2014 given scholarship opportunities, mentorship, and professional networking to students across the country. Why are HBCUs so important, and why do you believe that they should be supported, Malcolm, philanthropically? This foundation particularly has given over $600,000 of funds to 170 students in just over a decade. But I mean, why do you think HBCUs are so important, especially to those future storytellers and creators of color? If you want to
Well,
speak to that.
look, it's important to have our own institutions that build us up and empower us and believe in us. Um, and so you're not going to get that
Hmm.
everywhere.
Hmm.
Um, and a certain understanding of who
Hmm.
you are and what your stories mean and whatnot. So they're extremely important. And every HBCU alum that I know rides for their school, right? They are
Hmm.
they are very proud to
Make
have
sure you
been
know.
there, gone there,
Yes, sir.
and it's very special, and it's something that I've witnessed. I've not experienced, but I've witnessed. I went to a PWI, and I loved my experience.
Yes, sir.
But it's different with the HBCU crowd.
Yeah. Well, thank you, brother. And lastly, and the most important question tonight, what can you tell us about Girls Trip 2, man? We waiting. We needed to come. we trying to go where you going. We want to see him back on screen. You know, got any insight you can give us about Girls Trip 2 coming out? That's gonna be a big one, man. That's gonna be.
We're
We want to
working on
see.
the script. We're working on
Okay.
the script. I mean, you know,
Okay.
we listen. The bar has been set very high, and it doesn't make sense to make a movie that doesn't meet that expectation.
Yes, sir.
And it's a hard bar to hit.
Yeah.
We don't want to be that movie that people are like, oh man, like that fell short. You know, like we don't
Yeah.
want that. That nobody wants that.
Yes, sir.
We don't want to just do like a what we think might be a money grab. You know, we want we want people to have fun and enjoy the movies again. You know, and say like, oh, I you got to go see that. You got to go
Yes,
see it in
sir.
the theater. You
Yes, sir.
know.
Yeah. Well, we're excited, man. Jada Pinkett Smith, Queen Latifah, Tiffany Haddish, you work with the legends, and you're an incredible storyteller, writer, director. I just want to genuinely thank you, Malcolm. I mean, again, you are, as Charlemagne says, the Breakfast Club, an icon living. You have given us so many gems for the culture. Again, from Barbershop, Girls Trip, Best Man, you name it, Space Jam. Thank you, brother. And there,
My pleasure.
of course, and you've given a legacy for a lot of creators of color, and not all creators across the spectrum to be able to follow and a blueprint to follow. So thank you for what you do, brother. It means so much. Thank you for joining us today.
All right then.
Yeah,
Y'all have a
of
good
course.
Sunday. And
You
for
as
those on
well.
the East Coast, buckle down.
Yeah, the storm coming. Thank you, Malcolm, and to the rest of the viewers, I'll just say for applications for the foundation open up March 1st if you'd like to apply. Again, this foundation has been around since 2014, giving scholarships to students at HBCUs. Application opens March 1st and closes on April 15th. So thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your Sunday.